Welcome back to Property Playbook. We're your hosts, Elena Saradidis.
And Erica Reddy-Choquette.
I was about to start by singing.
Singing?
There's no place like home for the holidays.
Wow, you're feeling festive, aren't you?
Well, we are in December and it is holiday season.
True.
And I have a burning question for you.
Burning. I'm ready.
Burning question. Would you advise your clients to steer away of decorating their home for the holidays?
No, absolutely not. I would say go crazy, decorate, do your thing, make it as festive as humanly possible. Because for me, I'm not advising anybody to put their house on the market in December. So I say to people make it yours. If we're thinking of listing in the new year, which is what I advise people to do mid-Jan, early Feb, we're getting the decorations down long before we're listing, and we're not going to have a crazy holiday extravaganza in the property. So yeah, I'd be totally good with listing.
So let's say you have a listing.
Decorating, excuse me.
Now, let's say you have a listing coming up now.
Okay.
And you have a family home. What are you telling them to do? Are you posting the listing online with holiday stuff in it?
I see what you're saying.
So that's
now.
what I'm trying to say.
Got it.
Because there are people that will list, there are listings coming up before the holidays. There are.
Yeah.
So when they are coming up, are you advising your clients to steer away from stuff that talks about culture, talks about religion, talks about anything, because it is blaring at someone's face? We ask our clients to neutralize spaces before we sell them. But what happens when we enter into holiday season and you're kind of this is my last time in this home. Do I decorate or do we neutralize to sell?
Yeah, I mean, I think I always say to people kind of within reason, a bit like the family photos. We strip a lot of kind of contents out of a property, but there still sometimes is some kind of character of the, the homeowners and what their life story is in the property. So, I mean, I tend to say to people I'm fine with decor if it's kind of at 50%. I was in a house last year right around the holiday season, and don't get me wrong, it was beautifully decorated. Beautiful. I've never seen decor like this in my life. Every room, everything had a decor, but it was to the point that forget the what they celebrated or how they celebrated or why they celebrated, all the cultural bit. The decor actually took the showing over, because my client was so enthralled at the decor and so impressed by these million bajillion holiday decorations and how over the top it was, that literally I had to be Kate, we're really losing sight of what we're trying to see, which is the house. We have now talked about the nutcracker. We have now talked about the number of stockings in each room. We have now, and it really was a distraction. So I think, if you do want to have something, absolutely, but I think it's maybe within reason would be my answer.
My reaction is going to be proceed with caution. It depends on the area that you are selling in and what ethnicities, religion, culture is also buying into that area. You do want to neutralize it to an extent, because again, people come in and get distracted. We can't help it. If the room is painted yellow or orange, we're talking about the yellow or orange room. We're not talking about how big the room is. So keep that in mind. You're trying to make it so someone can come in and only talk about the stuff they need to talk about to make an informed decision about buying the property.
Yeah. I mean, in this case, this house, honestly, I think we counted 42 Christmas stockings, 42 in this house. We were how is this humanly possible? So
Can I ask you a question? Did your clients buy that house?
It did not.
And let me tell you why. It might be that they actually just it wasn't the right house for them. Maybe
it was. That was the case.
In all honesty, though, if you're in the house and you're so distracted, you're not even thinking, is it the right house or not? It's the same thing when you enter and there's a really strong odor. Are you looking at the house, or are you just how quickly can I get out of here?
Yeah, no, and I don't disagree. I think everything is within reason, and I do agree with you. I think, as we do when we're selling somebody's house, the first thing we're doing is we're road mapping in the process. Who do we think the targeted audience is? Who do we think the buyer is? So to your point, if you're putting up decor that could be maybe off-putting to somebody coming into the property, then yes, that's going to spark a conversation and could deter a purchaser from making a purchase. So being very mindful.
And we're not saying putting up your Christmas tree is going to be the reason why your house doesn't sell. We're not saying that.
Yeah.
We're saying be cautious with how much you decorate or how you decorate, because you don't want the focal point to be how beautiful your tree is. You want the focal point to be how beautiful the house is.
Yeah.
So try not to take away from the beauty of the house, and be cautious in the neighborhoods that you're selling in on what it looks like. The other thing I would say, and I'm this is word to the wise, do not photograph the Christmas tree in your listing photos or any holiday memorabilia in the listing photo. Because what happens if the listing takes a little bit longer to sell, which it does in certain markets and in certain price points and in certain product, it takes longer. And now you have dated photos because everyone that will see it will be like, oh, it's been on the market since the holidays.
Yeah.
Like, try and avoid putting that up.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, try and avoid snow. Try and avoid Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Also, like, if you're planning to list in any other market other than Christmas, take down the Christmas lights. Take them down.
I think the white, nicely done white lights and trees.
On every season?
No, not every season.
No, but
I
take
think they can go to March.
They can go until March, but like, are you telling me list the property with the Christmas lights on?
No, not the Christmas lights, like the ones on the outside of the trees that people do, like the pretty. I'm trying to get them done right now. Like up my birch tree, I'm trying to get Christmas lights, like white, soft white, nice neutral lights. Not like.
But you're also not trying to sell.
No, but they're quite tasteful. So I think the
Me
moral,
driving by Erica's neighborhood in the next few days being like, Erica, were they tasteful white or untasteful white?
I think they're going to be very tasteful white. But I think the important point to your point, yes, if you're putting like rainbow colored Christmas lights and making your house look like a gingerbread house, then yes, of course, that's going to be a problem.
No, but I'm talking about throughout the year, throughout time. Some people leave their Christmas lights on. Like on their house, they don't turn them on, but they leave it on the house because it is a process to put them up.
Yes, true.
Like, let's call it as it is. Not everyone has the guy that's going to come put up your lights. Yes. Like some people do it themselves.
Also, those people are very hard to find, by the way. I am learning. For anyone that has
recommendations. For her tasteful white Christmas tree that's going to be outside her house.
It's actually true. This is a whole other story or conversation. People only want to come if they are going to supply you the lights. If you have the lights, they're like, sorry, I'm not coming. I'm like, hey, come on. Anyways, I digress.
Sell your lights on Facebook Marketplace and tell them to come put up your lights. There's no way I see you or Graham standing on a ladder putting up these lights. It's not going to happen.
Stand by.
Let me know when it's happening. I'm coming by to take photos. But the reality is this. If you are going to be decorating, be cautious. If you're going to be selling in the winter, be super cautious about certain things. Like, is the driveway slippery? Like, salt it. Make sure it's salted. If it's a vacant home, make sure your agent is checking on the property every once in a while. Make sure the heat is on. I know it's like, oh, it's an expensive bill and I don't want to pay it. But when people walk into a home and they're already wearing their winter jacket and it feels cold, they're like, is something not working?
100%.
Like, they don't think, oh, everything is fine. And maybe they have their jacket on, they won't feel it. But when they take off their shoes and they touch the ground and it feels cold, they'll think there's something wrong with your home.
Yeah.
When it's almost an accident in the front of your home before they even get in, like it's a skating scene, they are not going to talk about the home. They're going to talk about the fact that they almost died walking up to the home.
Yeah. No, but some of this stuff it sounds like common sense, but it's not common sense. The number of times I sometimes even put a shovel in my car in the winter for showings to shovel a path to the front door. Or if a client's like, I want to see something in the backyard and you're like, oh, great, there's 4 feet of snow. Like, shovel things so that you can very easily. Do you not take a shovel with you?
Do you know what I take?
What?
The lockbox. Like the
thawing stuff? Oh, that's also.
Okay. Fun fact, lockboxes freeze in the winter.
So frustrating.
Yeah. And like, if you have them in sections that like you can't reach, like just think about it. Covered porches are fantastic. Buildings that it's internal, fantastic. But there is a chance that your lockbox will freeze if it's sitting outside and like water hits it. It will freeze.
Well, any little bit of moisture gets in a lockbox and you cannot open it. And then the lockbox is freezing and your hands are freezing and you're trying to thaw it. It's a pain.
And let me tell you, they will not see your house if they can't open up the lockbox.
Yeah.
And them calling the listing agent in the middle of the night. It's not the middle of the night, but in the middle of showing time.
Like, when are you showing?
No, sometimes.
Yeah.
Depends on who you ask. It depends on showing times. So like when people are calling the listing agent being like, hey, I can't get into the lockbox and they say it's frozen. What's the listing agent going to do for you in that moment? It's not like they can be there in 3 seconds and unfreeze it for you.
Yeah.
Like, that person's a potential buyer that couldn't get in. So they moved on.
Yeah.
And maybe the next house was the one that they put in an offer on.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't put in an offer on your house because they didn't get to see your house.
Yeah.
It comes back to like, let people come into your house whenever they're available to go see your house because you never know who's going to buy it. and you want them to get in the house.
And I mean, I know we talked about this on a previous episode, and somebody actually, when I was getting their house ready for market, was like, oh, don't worry, we already know. We keep our lights on at all times. And I was like, same thing. But again, let's put that friendly reminder out. Middle of the winter, it is dark at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Get every single light, Christmas lights included if they're still in your trees, on. Get your house really bright, have it show ready, get your outdoor lights on, get your driveways shoveled, get your pathways shoveled. Like, be super mindful of making these showings as easy as humanly possible. The other thing I always say to people is like, get a second boot mat and put it inside, because when you've got 4 or 5 people coming in to look at your house at the same time and everybody's coming in with their snow-covered, salt-covered boots on, have a place for them to like get their boot off and then step onto something that's dry before they come into your home. There's nothing worse than getting wet, soggy, snow-covered feet in showings. So, I mean, those to me would be some really great winter pointers when you're looking to sell.
Definitely. Are we missing any topics? We have not talked about how to get your house ready in general for winter time. Like, have you closed up all of your the water, the exterior water? Why am I blanking on this?
Irrigation systems,
exactly,
hose bibs, et cetera. I mean, you're almost too late at this point, I would say. But if you haven't, this is like your final. Hopefully it hasn't frozen and you have drained your hose bib, you have drained your irrigation system, anything with outdoor water, outside water. You want to make sure you're taking care of that so that you don't have water freezing in places where pipes can crack and you can end up with a flood. So that would be hopefully we haven't missed the boat on that. But no, I really think the big thing is being really mindful of getting your property ready. But the one thing I will say that I think is important on the topic of winter, so many people go, there's no point putting my house up on the market in the winter because nobody's going to come and see it. And I would beg to differ. On some of the biggest snowstorms, on some of the craziest blizzards, we have had some of the most success. So when buyers want to see properties come, hell or high water, they will get there. So using the winter, using snow, using those as excuses aren't frankly true. And January and February has really low inventory typically. So if you are that shining star in that neighborhood where you have buyers that want to buy, they will get there. So then when they get there, make it the nicest experience humanly possible for them to view your house in the winter.
Yeah, just be better than your competition. That's probably it.
Sometimes that sounds like common
better
sense.
Than your competition. No,
and really easy, but it's actually not.
No. Yeah. And like, you have to remember, like, the internet is one thing. You see the beautiful shiny photos, but when you walk in, the first thing a client would say is, well, they had a really good photographer.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, I didn't notice this in the photos. Like, they noticed. They were looking at those photos before they came in. They were over analyzing those photos to see if it would work for them before they called us out.
Yeah.
So be mindful. The photos need to look fantastic, but the experience inside the house needs to be even better.
Agreed.
So just make it look perfect.
Yeah. Agreed.
Once again, it's Elena Saradidis
and Erica Reddy-Choquette.
And this was our holiday season episode.